a little bit about me. As I mentioned, my name is Stephanie Mozillo. I work for the Neat Company, and I've been here for about 3 years. I'm part of the marketing team, and I'm really the partner advocate for our team here. Now that, and then a little bit about Neat. So we're headquartered in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We provide a SaaS-based solution for expense tracking and bookkeeping automation for small and micro businesses. The pillars and the bread and butter of our product is automated OCR and parsing, organization, and providing you with a searchable data structure. So I just provided you a little bit of information about myself and the company. What I'd like to do is launch a quick poll just to get a feel for who's joining us today. I see some responses coming in. We'll just give this a minute. Thank you. The responses are rolling in very quickly. Thank you all for your prompt response. We're just at about 100% response rate, and then we'll move on. I'm going to give it another 15 seconds, and then we'll close this poll. Okay, thank you all very much. We'll have 4 more of those as we go. So a quick agenda for you. We're going to do a quick intro. We're then going to jump right into the audit proofing process in 7 steps. I'll then switch over and give you about a 20-minute demo of the Neat software itself. And then towards the very end, I'll address some quick support and partner benefits specific to Neat. And then if there's any time permitting, we'll do a Q&A. So one more polling question to get us kicked off here. How many times have you or your clients been audited? We'll give this just a quick moment. And while you're all responding to this, what we did was a little bit of research to look at how our clientele and the partners that we work with were dealing with audits. And that's something that we hold very close here at Neat, in a goal is to help you as the accountant and bookkeeper, and directly as the client or the small business, to avoid this issue. And if it arises, to really be able to efficiently remedy the issue and move forward. Great, so we're about 30 seconds into this poll, and we're almost fully there for votes. So I'm just going to give it a few more seconds, and then we'll move on from here as well. Okay, I'll be closing the poll in 10 seconds. Okay, so a little bit of information. In 2016, there was approximately 1 million taxpayers audited. So that was why I wanted to ask that question, to get a feel for who on this call has personally been affected or had to deal through an audit and how frequently that's occurred. We'll follow up after the webinar with a little bit of information on this, but what I want to do right now is jump right into the bulk and the core of what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to go through the audit proofing process in 7 steps. The first step is investing in cloud technology. The second is leveraging a payroll service. Third is around W-9s and making sure that independent contractors are accounted for properly. Number 4 is keeping digital copies of receipts. Number 6 is not hiding cash, which does certainly affect specific industries more so than not. We'll get into that a little bit more. Number 6 is making sure to understand and file returns on time. And then number 7 is either having or being that trusted advisor. So I know that we have a mix of attendees on this show, on this webinar today. Some that are operating strictly as that trusted advisor in more of an accounting or bookkeeping role, or potentially you're running your own small business and you're leveraging a trusted advisor. So we'll get into the differences later on in the webinar as far as that goes and touch on a few points there. So step 1 in the process is investing in cloud technology. As we all know, there is a multitude of cloud products that have hit the market, and cloud has really become that new term that everyone's focusing on, and how to automate a business better by leveraging cloud technology. So when you're looking at this, the best way to look at it is to consider a tech stack, if you will. So what products work best for the way that you offer your services, and then what products are the most reasonable to implement with your clients. So if you look across your clients and you see that, you know, the majority of them are very small businesses and may only have a certain amount of cash to put forth towards a cloud technology, you'll want to take things like that into account. And then you can really get an idea of which cloud technologies are going to work best for what you need. The goal here is that whatever you do implement, having this at your fingertips and leveraging this as you work with clients or vendors, you're going to save a ton of hours from a compliance standpoint. So a lot of these different systems are helping you along that process and providing you with ongoing support and efficiencies that you can find there. What else this is going to do is provide easier access to the backup documentation. So the majority of cloud technologies today do offer some form of backup storage, whether that's an unlimited model or perhaps you have to pay various tiers of price based on the amount of storage you need. There are all types of variant ways that you can keep this backup documentation so that it's easily accessible and, more importantly, is accepted in most cases. So whether it's going back to the IRS or you need to provide it back to your advisor, this information is easy to find. And then what else it's doing is allowing you to create a centralized hub of your accounting data. So again, whether you're using a single solution that does everything that you need for your business, or if you have, say, 2 to 4 cloud solutions that you've implemented, likely if you're implementing multiples, you're making sure that they are working well together and that they are all integrating properly. And so what this is going to do is provide you with that centralized location so that you can log into one software application or have a set time of the week that you focus on this, and everything is in one place for you. So I do want to jump over and just ask a quick question. I want to know how many cloud-based software applications you are currently using. So I just launched that poll. Please go ahead and vote. We'll give this about a minute and a half, and then we'll move on from here. Just 15 seconds left on this poll, and then I will go ahead and close it. Awesome. Thank you all for taking that poll. We're going to move on now. So step 2 is using a payroll service. Depending on the size of the business or the size of the clientele, this is something that is going to very quickly save a ton of time and a ton of money, but more importantly, it's going to help you avoid discrepancies. So this will allow you to really push this service off onto a third party or onto a service that can provide this for you, so that you can avoid those discrepancies between tax withholdings and the payments. As we know, every employee is different, whether you're looking at part-time or full-time, or you're looking more specifically at the type of employee that it is, and what we'll get into later is independent contractors a little bit more, but that's a great example of where having this payroll service implemented can really help support you. It's going to lower the risk of hefty penalties and interest. So with a lot of these services, that's something that they will alert you to and provide on an ongoing basis. So if you are something that may not be caught because it's not something that you're looking at day in and day out, you'll get alerts to that and be able to remedy those issues. And then what else this is going to do is really help you connect the federal and state deposit schedules and rates, and then also tax schedules and managing new hires as they come in. So I know that new hires is a big burden on businesses, especially those very small businesses, right? So you're bringing on your first employee, maybe your second or third. And in those cases, there's a lot of paperwork, there's a lot of check boxes that need to be handled, and this is something that the payroll service would be able to manage on your behalf. Moving on to step 3, this is what I've mentioned a couple times now, and this is requiring W-9s for independent contractors. So this is a very important one, and I think it's one that can potentially be missed. If you bring in a contractor and maybe it's just a small project initially, you may not see that this is something that's necessary to require. But the second that you exceed the $600 mark per calendar year, that's when you're going to start running into issues. So what's best is to really implement an internal policy, and that internal policy can be as simple as soon as that independent contractor is hired, whether it be for a project basis, for a set amount of time, maybe it's just a 3-month position or something along those lines, you want to make sure that that's required across the organization or across your client base immediately. If that independent contractor never completes that project and you never have to remit payment to them, or if they never exceed that amount, there's no harm done either way. It was, 1 or 2 pieces of paper that had to be filed, and it's something that comes highly recommended and that can really save you in the case of an audit. And then just one other recommendation here is to close out and reconcile your independent contractors in a timely manner. So this could be set up on a weekly basis, a monthly basis, or a quarterly basis. Again, it depends on the nature of the business and how often they're bringing in independent contractors, and in what type. So if it's, quick creative projects that are a set amount that needs to be covered, or maybe it's someone that comes in on an ongoing basis, and they're on a contract to hire position, whatever it is, having that 1099 in place is really going to help safeguard in the case of an audit coming in. So I want to open up another poll here and get an idea for who on this call is working with independent contractors. So I want to understand, is your business specifically or that the business of your clients employing independent contractors? So I just launched the poll. This is a quick yes or no, so this one should go a little bit quicker, but I'm going to hold it open for about a minute to see how quickly the responses come in. I'm also seeing you comment in that you yourself are an independent contractor, so I'm really happy that you're on this call. I'm just going to answer one quick question that came in asking about where Neat is provided. Neat is a US-based product. We handle USD and CAD, so it does work in Canada as well. Currently, we do not provide any support for this product overseas. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close this poll. We have just about 100% responses. And we'll move on to step 4. So step 4 is keeping digital copies of receipts. This certainly varies from industry to industry and from client to client, or even vendors. So I speak to some of our customers that never receive paper copies of receipts or invoices anymore. They have successfully migrated everything over to receiving documents in a digital format. And so in that case, their step is really just to make sure that they're storing these properly in an organized fashion, and they're able to get to them in the event that they need quick access. If you are sitting on this line right now and saying, well, I still have a ton of paper-based documents come in, and that's what you're handling primarily, that's okay. Because there are, as we talked about in step 1, a lot of software applications that will resolve that for you. Neat is one of them. We do have a storage-based model that enables you to take all of those paper documents, load it into a digital format, and then store it and have it for safekeeping. When you're considering implementing a process or a software in order to keep everything in a digital format, one of the things that's important to look at is what the storage, backup, and security levels are of those software solutions. So from a storage standpoint, you really just need to know how much is allowed to be stored for the either no cost option or for the initial cost, and then what's the additional cost should you go over that storage limit. From a security standpoint, there's no reason why you should be using any software that doesn't have full bank level security. So the same security that you would expect when you're doing online banking is what you should expect with any other software solution that is storing and keeping your documents for you. And then lastly, backup. What happens if something crashes? What happens if you switch businesses or lose a client? And understanding what the backup process is and how you could retrieve all of that documentation. So in terms of keeping these digital copies specifically to the audit proofing process, what's great about this is that you can keep backup documentation specifically for travel, meals, and entertainment. So those are 3 categories that can frequently get audited, especially in the case of a solopreneur, entrepreneur that is doing everything as themselves. And so the dinner that they go on, with their family on Friday night versus the dinner that they go on Saturday night with a vendor or a client for business needs, making sure that those are categorized properly for the business intent is very important to avoid the audit in the first place. But that is a red flag. And so should the audit happen, having these digital copies and being able to show the backup of what the business intent was, and potentially even going further and tracking it to a specific customer or vendor, is even more helpful in this case. Um, what this is going to do is help you avoid those additional taxes owed, as well as any fees and interest. So even in the event that you can quickly resolve the issue and fix the problem at hand, you still want to make sure that you're avoiding the fees and interest. And so having that backup information tied specifically to that digital copy of the receipt is certainly going to help in that scenario. And then what I just talked about a little bit in the beginning of this step is opting for that cost-effective digital storage solution. So this varies depending on how your business is set up, how you handle your clients, but the goal is to find one that works best for you. So as I mentioned, Neat does offer this solution, and what you'll want to do is just compare what Neat has compared to some of the other competitors to see what works best for you. So moving on to step 5, this one is to not hide cash, and this is one that I know plays a very large role in specific industries. There are, as we all know, a lot of cash-based businesses out there, but even if you're not a cash-based business and perhaps there's tips involved or additional bonuses involved that do come in the form of cash, it's very important to account for all of this. So what's highly recommended is keeping a separate asset account to manage the cash inflows and outflows. So so far I've only talked about the cash coming in, but in a lot of businesses there may be what cash is going out, and how it's exchanging hands, when it's exchanging hands, and to who is very important to make sure that it's being managed separately and on a continual basis. The recommendation is to account for these cash activities just as you would the bank account transactions. So if you have a receipt that comes in on a credit card or directly to a debit account, for example, the same process that you would take into account for that is what you should apply to cash inflows and outflows. And then there is, of course, a higher likelihood of audits for those cash-based businesses, and so it certainly does affect certain industries a little bit more. Restaurants, which has, cash payments in cash, as well as the tipping, landscaping and construction companies as well. It's very important just for those industries, even more so, to make sure that they're paying attention and properly accounting for the cash as it comes in and out of the business. Moving on to step 6. So this is understanding the tax obligations and filing returns on time. What is specific to point out here is understanding this by state. So if you have multiple clients across different states, making sure that the different tax categories and return limitations and timing are all taken into account ahead of time. If you go back to step 5, step 4, actually, having the digital storage available is something that also comes into play when it's time for taxes. So if you can set up your clients or your employees in a way that they are throughout the year processing their receipts and invoices into the digital storage solution, that is going to save a ton of time and potential risks when it comes time for taxes. Instead of being faced with the shoebox full of papers or that stack of unidentified paper documents right around tax time, you'll have it at your fingertips throughout the year. So as the accountant or bookkeeper, or as the small business running it solely as your own, what you can do there is recognize issues throughout the year. So instead of right before tax time, when it's crunch time, when you're rushing to get things in on time, you don't have to worry about those last minute issues that may come up. Now, of course, they can come up. You can't always fully safeguard against that, but at least leveraging that digital storage solution and having everything at your fingertips throughout the year is going to tremendously save time and money. Something else to note here that's important is making sure that your gross sales match what is reported on your income tax return. So whether you are reconciling this at different times of the year, just around tax time, you just want to make sure that what you have on your books is what is the full amount that's being pushed into that income tax return. But in the case of anything that comes back, you also want to be very prepared with a sound explanation as to any exempt sales that you did not report. And then this is just another best practice, is to password protect your monthly closeout. So with some solutions, what will happen when you handle a receipt? So for example, in Neat, if you take a receipt and you've scanned it into Neat and then you decide to send it over to an accounting solution such as QuickBooks, on Neat, we lock that record so that just in the event that someone else at your company or another employee is coming in there to work on another client's information, if we don't want to take the chance that they accidentally affect that specific record. So this is something else that you'll want to take into account internally as you handle your monthly closeouts, just to make sure that nothing can be modified or changed from previous transactions that have already been accounted for. So I'm going to jump into another poll. And this is our last poll for the session. So do you currently handle tax returns in multiple states? If you are a small business listening in and instead you have your trusted advisor that does this for you, we do have the not applicable option for you to choose on this question. I see some questions that have come in specifically about getting a copy of this presentation. The recording will be available that we will send you via email as well as on our YouTube channel. And for those of you that are specifically requesting the slides, we can get a slide deck out to you as well. Okay, I'm going to close the poll in 15 seconds. Okay, great. So we're going to move on to the last step in the audit proofing process, and once this is completed, I'm going to switch over and give you a quick demo of the Neat software. And then the last step will be just to come back and talk a few slides about what Neat offers from a partner program and the support that we offer. I do see that a ton of questions are coming through. I am likely not going to be able to get to all of them by the end of this, but I will be sure to follow up with you via email after the webinar. So step 7 is to either be or have that trusted advisor. So if you are the accountant, bookkeeper, financial advisor on this call right now, you have the ability to play a huge role in a small business's success. And so making sure that that small business entrusts you to do so, is confident in your abilities, and is sure that you're providing them sound judgment is very key. As the small business, it's your decision to make sure that you bring in this trusted advisor. And it should always be someone that you trust, always be someone that is up to date on the standards and certifications that are required, and then that can also provide specific knowledge to your business and your industry. So a landscaping business is not the same as a retail store, which is not the same as a software startup. And so that's always something to take into account when you are either providing your services to this small business or if you as a small business are shopping for these services. Finding someone that really aligns with where your company is going and what's required of your company going forward is very important. So these trusted advisors, they all endure very rigorous standards to maintain their certifications and licenses. And what those certifications and licenses are specifically do vary depending on the services that they're offering. But that's something that's very important to know and very important as the trusted advisor to stay on top of. And as we get into it a little bit later, NEAT does offer our partner program, which is another certification that just shows that the time and effort was put in to make sure that you fully learn and understand the solution that you are potentially passing off to the client. These trusted advisors are always protecting against suspicious activity or compliance issues. So similar to how we talked about outsourcing a payroll service, having a trusted advisor or being a trusted advisor who's continuously looking into a company's financials, that's when the issues are going to be recognized, and that's when they can be remedied at the onset, and then it doesn't snowball into an even bigger issue. And then what's great about this role and leveraging this role with small businesses is the additional services that can be provided. So whether it's going back to step one and it's a software solution tech stack, and the trusted advisor is very well aware, knows the ins and outs and all the bells and whistles of the various solutions that are out there, or even if it's just further value-added services. So if you're building in a way to handle all of those digital receipts so that the small business owner themselves doesn't have to worry about that. It's very good to have that trusted advisor on hand so that they'll continuously be bringing the best practices and the highest levels of knowledge into your business. So this concludes the 7 steps of audit-proofing a business. We're going to move over to a NEAT software demo, and this demo will run about 20 minutes. Again, if you have any questions specific to the software, I will be sure to follow up with you after this webinar and provide as much guidance as I can on any of your questions. Okay, so what I've just opened up here is the NEAT software application. As I mentioned in the beginning of this webinar, NEAT is a solution for very small businesses, and then we do offer a solution that helps the accountants and bookkeepers and those financial advisors when they're working with these small businesses. The key pillars to what we're doing is OCR, optical character recognition and parsing, which eliminates manual data entry. The organization that comes with our storage piece, and then enabling you to do more with the data that we provide. The current NEAT system is an ecosystem of 3 parts. So what I have open on my screen right now that I will log into is the NEAT lightweight desktop application. So this is an application that you would download onto your computer. If you can see the bottom of my screen here, you will see that I have the icon to launch this. What else we have is our cloud solution. So this is the same product. It is synced between both. It just enables you to get to this from a web browser. So you'll see me signing into here. And then third is a mobile app. The mobile app is available on Android and iOS. Again, it does sync everything from the mobile app to the cloud app to the lightweight desktop application. I want to point out one thing on the lightweight desktop application, and then I'll move over to the cloud application for the majority of this demo. What you see at the top left here is a scan button. So Neat before was a scanner company. We provided 3 levels of our scanner and we bundled our software with those scanners. What we've done in the last year is untethered our hardware and software. We've made a strategic decision to stop selling our hardware, so our scanners will soon be completely out of the market as we just sell through some of the inventory. And then we made an even further strategic decision to make our software compatible with other third-party scanners that plenty of you on this phone call likely know and love and already use. So any Twain compliant scanner, Panasonic, Canon, Brother, Fujitsu, for example, will work with the Neat software. But what I want to address now is the scan button here at the top is available in the LDA. So if you have connected to a scanner, you will have to scan directly in using this button here. If you are simply using the mobile app to take images to bring them in, or if you simply email in, then that's the only difference that isn't as necessary for you as it would be if you're heavily using that scanner. So switching over to the cloud app now, as I mentioned, there's a multitude of ways to get documents into Neat. The scanner is one of them, any third-party Twain compliant scanner. Your mobile app by simply taking a picture. Something that we call your Neat Cloud email address. So with every account, you will receive your username at neatcloud.com. And what's great about this is if you get those paper invoices, or even if you're already getting digital invoices, you can eliminate that middle step of getting it into your personal or work email address. So for example, any receipts that I receive digitally from Home Depot or Lowe's, for example, I've given them this Neat Cloud email address. So it automatically is sent directly into Neat. It still goes through the same OCR and parsing as any other document coming in would. The other 2 ways to get an item into Neat is to import it. So if you have documents saved or stored on your computer, you can very quickly import them. And then the last one is to create a new item. So once those items are coming into Neat, we are OCRing the entire document. So every word and number on that document, even on multiple pages, so for a multi-page invoice, for example, anything from the 3rd, 4th, 5th, etc. pages is going to be OCR'd. And this is enabling us to do 2 things. One, it's setting you up for ongoing keyword search so that you can always find that document even if you forgot where you stored it. But 2, it is enabling us to parse some information off of those receipts. So I'm going to pull up a receipt example for you. So I'm going to show you a couple different examples. The first one is a Lyft ride receipt. So these come to me via email. As I mentioned, I have them sent something like this directly into my smozillo@neatcloud.com address. And all of this information is automatically filled in for me. As far as the accuracy of Neat goes, if you are simply using, if you scan an item in and you just use Neat's OCR, the accuracy of that is generally anywhere from 85% to 100% accurate. The 85% inaccuracies are generally in the form of restaurant receipts where you have a handwritten tip and total, and so the machines just aren't equipped to read off the handwriting, or it might be too messy. And so we have a third-party service known as Neat Verify. And what Neat Verify does, and you see as I click this, it opened up at the top of the screen here. What Neat Verify does is allow you to leverage a third-party service. It's human verification, so 2 people will review this document, they'll double check to see if everything's accurate, and they will fill that into the record in your Neat software. This service is completely optional, so you can turn it on and turn it off. For example, I know some industries have some more strict compliance guidelines where they can't send these items out. And Neat Verify is available 365 days a year, 24/7, and we guarantee that you will get that document back within 10 minutes or less. So that was an example of a receipt. I want to show you an example of an invoice so that you can see the different items that are parsed off. So here's the image that was initially scanned in. The differences here, as you can see, that vendor was pulled off, invoice number, PO number, account number, total and currency, as always. We will categorize it for you, but if this is something that you have internal processes for, you can always change these. And so now that'll be categorized under test. It'll pull in a date. If there is a due date available, it will pull that. It'll also pull the terms down here. So now Neat itself is not a payment processing solution. However, what we do is integrate with products like QuickBooks. And what happens with QuickBooks is if you send an item through to QuickBooks from Neat, and currently you can send receipts, invoices, and then you can send expense reports as well as reimbursable expenses. An invoice will go through as a bill to be paid. So all of the information will carry over from that receipt. Again, you didn't have to manually enter any of this information. So it's going to create the transaction for you in QuickBooks. And then from there, you can manage either the vendor bill pay or the employee reimbursement, or if it's a receipt, just reconciling it to a credit card statement, for example, or a debit account. So you would simply just connect to QuickBooks Online or QuickBooks Desktop, depending on what you're using. And then these items up here are all of the mapped categories that we handle. So if you're using QuickBooks Plus, then the additional project, class, location, and product will apply to you. And the mapping is very simple. You choose what you want to map, and it'll pull down all of the items that you already have in your QuickBooks account. And then everything on the left side is anything that we've ever parsed or OCR'd off of a document on Neat. Something else that Neat handles very well is expense reports. So if you have a small business and maybe you've just hired a few employees, or you as the advisor are managing the reimbursable expenses for these employees, it's very simple to stay on top of expense reports as they come in. So our expense reporting is done on a folder basis. So what I do is whenever I'm traveling for work, I use the mobile app. I take a picture of the receipt as soon as I get it. I store it into a specific folder that I've named in Neat. Just to note, the folder structure is completely unlimited, and you can manage these down to multiple tiers as you go. And you can simply choose Create up here, create a folder, and now that folder will be a drop down from this one here, as you can see. So going back to the expense reporting, it's by folder. You would simply there we go. You would simply, within the folder, choose this report button from the toolbar at the top. You can add notes if you need to. I'm going to create that report. And then if you have it set up to manage this report within QuickBooks and get paid, then you can send it through there. And these are your options on how to send it. But if you simply want to download the report and submit this to either an internal finance team or a manager, you can do so here. And what you see here is the output of this expense report. So it gives you a quick category summary at the top with the number of receipts and the total amount. It gives you the individual line items that are part of this expense report. And then it's going to auto attach every receipt that was in that folder. And that's it. So it took what? You know, as I was ongoing putting these receipts in, it was very quickly snapping a picture with my phone, and then I can create the report in 15 seconds. So just a few high-level items that I want to touch base on before we move on to how we support you as a customer and what you can expect from the partner program. I want to touch base on the inbox here. So this is where your unreviewed items would go. So if I took a picture with my phone, it would go into this folder here from Neat Mobile. Now, from the phone, I can also select the folder that I want it to go directly into. But say the process is that there's someone that needs to review every receipt. It will be best just to take the picture of it, send it into Neat, and then it'll show here as an unreviewed item. Similarly, if you leverage the Neat Cloud email address, this is where it's going to show up here. So here's a perfect example of one that came into my personal email, and I forwarded it over to smozillo@neatcloud.com, and you can see the information that was parsed off of here without me having to manually enter any of this information. Should I need to add any notes, I could do so here, and I can also select from a ton of additional fields to fill in. So you can look here and see that I can add a client. I can also add a project, a subject, etc. So depending on how the reporting is handled within that small business will vary based on which fields you use. If a folder is shared with you, it will show up in the bottom here. And you will be able to access the items in that folder. If you wanted to share a folder with someone, oops, you can simply choose the folder that you want to share, and then you'll see the share button in the action bar, toolbar at the top that pops up, and so you would share that item. And now whoever you share it with will get an email to access that, and they'll be able to review the information. Okay, so I'm going to hop out of here and jump back into a couple slides. We are 50 minutes into this webinar, so as promised, this will not exceed 60 minutes. I want to be very mindful of everyone's time on this Friday for you. So we're going to go over a couple high-level items that I just want to address, and then we'll be sure to get you out of here on time. So Neat's partner program is specific for accountants and bookkeepers and financial advisors. So whether you're on this call as the small business or as the accountant or bookkeeper, I do highly recommend that this is something that you join, and as you can see on the screen, there's a lot of reasons why. So by completing the certification, you will receive a free instance of Neat. You will receive placement on Neat.com's website, which does get a very high traffic level on a daily basis. So if someone comes to our site and is looking for an advisor, they'll be able to search based on a quick location search to find you. You will receive a unique referral link to get you set up to refer this out to clients, which you can then gain commission on. There is dedicated support, and as I mentioned in my introduction, I am the partner advocate here at Neat, so I'm the person that's really going to be available to help you and assist in any issues, concerns, or advice that you may need. So if you're looking for specific product enhancements, you'll want to come to me. If you're looking at best practices to onboard your clients, you'll want to come to me. If you're looking on how to sell this into your clients, then again, you'll want to speak to me. So we're building out this program to be very fun and exciting. There's going to be ongoing monthly contests and prizes. You will get a certification for this, as well as partner portal access and the ongoing training. Ongoing training is generally in the form of webinars like today's, but we can also look if the need arises for a different type of training. If you have any technical support issues, this is the phone number that you'll want to call. The support team here at Neat is very equipped to handle both scanner issues, but more importantly, the software issues and getting you back up and running very quickly. I want to point out two quick incentives. As I mentioned, we're making this a very fun and exciting partner program, and right now we're running two incentives through the end of the year. So the first one is anyone who's part of our partner program and has clients sign up through their unique referral link. There's just an additional spiff in it for you at this time. So it's a $25 Amazon gift card to the partner and then an additional $15 to the client who's signed up. And then this one is super exciting and one that I wish I could join in on. We're giving away a small vacation to the winner of this contest. So the person who signs up the most clients will receive $1,500 in travel credits. So it's in the form of a $1,000 American Airlines credit, $300 Hotels.com gift card, and a $200 Visa gift card. And then we have a ton of other fun swag, neat t-shirts and coffee mugs and pens and pencils, etc. All of that you'll get in a nice little gift basket. Here's your steps to get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go to neat.com. And if you go to the partners dropdown, you'll see a selection for accountants and bookkeepers, and that's where you can put in an application. I do monitor these applications, so I will very quickly be sure to get the approval through, provide you with a partner portal login, and then the certification is currently set at 3 videos to watch and a 40-question exam. And then from there, you'll get the free instance of Neat that I mentioned and the unique referral link. And then the next thing you'll have to do is start sharing. So that concludes the webinar for today. As I mentioned, we will follow up with the recording via email as well as adding it to our YouTube channel. If you have any questions and you didn't put them in the question box, please feel free to email me at smozillo@neat.com. If you did put questions into the question box, we do have 6 minutes left. I'll see if I can answer any of those, but if not, I will follow up with you via email after this webinar. So I'll leave my contact info up on the screen. I'm going to see if there's any questions in here that I can quickly answer in the last 5 minutes. I see one that just came in. Does Neat integrate with Box.com or Dropbox for dragging and dropping folders or files? We currently do not have a direct integration with them from our software solution, but the option would be to get that information in from an import function. I see several questions about help with software issues with Mac. What I would recommend is going to neat.com, and under the support section, we have released a ton of knowledge base articles on how to remedy those issues. And then if you call into that support number, which you can also find on our website, they'll be able to assist you more specifically with Mac issues. If you have Neat already, you can still get into the program. Just go to the application on our website and we'll go through. I'll make sure to approve that properly. A couple questions on dragging documents from one folder to another in Neat. You can do that. I'll just show you real quick. So if I have this item here and I want to pull it into here, you can see it'll allow you to drop one item there. So the documents that come in other languages, they do get OCR'd from a keyword standpoint, so you could come up here and quickly search. However, those items will not be parsed from there. Another question came in about compatible scanners. If you go to our website and you go under partners and certified hardware partners, this is where you will be able to see several of the hardware partners that have officially joined our certified program, which means we've tested and gone through rigorous certifications to make sure this works properly with the scanner. However, if you know that your scanner is Twain compliant, then the connection will work properly. A question about updating the tax column or any other column for all the files in a folder at a time instead of going one after the other. Unfortunately, you can only do that by item. However, there is a quick way to do it, which I do every single time I'm reviewing my expense reports. I just open up that folder and you can basically progress through every item that's in that folder. So if you get it in a folder at one point, you can even filter on the ones you're specifically looking for, and then you can quickly progress through that. I see a lot of questions coming in about the scanners. To clarify, we are no longer manufacturing our Neat scanners. There are still some in the market at some retail stores or even refurbs, and we will support them. However, once those are completely sold through, everything that's in stock, there will be no more Neat scanners brought into the market. Next question, how do you create the Neat Cloud email address? This is created automatically for you. So it's based on the username that you set for your account, and it will just take that username and then add the @neatcloud.com. So my username for Neat is smozillo. For shared files, the person reviewing those files, they will need to log into Neat in order to view them. The way that it's set up now is it pushes them into a 30-day trial, and then they would just have to upgrade from there if they still wanted or needed access to those files. Several more questions about the slides. We'll be sure to send them through to you after the webinar. Great. So we are just at the hour. I have a ton more questions that came in, so I'm not going to forget those. I will follow up via email. If you want to proactively email me, please do. My email address is smozillo, 2 Z's, 2 L's, @neat.com. Thank you all so much for joining today. I hope that this was very helpful. You will receive the CPE credit for this webinar, and we do have your information if anything else comes up. So again, please feel free to reach out to me if you have any further questions. We will be continuously running webinars like this one, so please be sure to check back and join those as they become available. Thank you all so much for joining. Have a great rest of your day.